I'm Lewis. I'm from Germany, but I'm half British and half English, so I speak English, and it's always been spoken at home, just as much as German. And I live in Mannheim, that's in the south of Germany, like near Frankfurt, and I don't know, it's like a 6-hour train ride from Berlin, if you're lucky, because Deutsche Bahn, Charlie, is terrible. We first met in Hamburg through a mutual friend of ours, Herman. He was with a company that Marvin was writing with, and Herman knew me from university back in Mannheim. And he said, these two guys, they need to meet up, they need to get to know each other, they're gonna write some beautiful music. And he was a producer at the time, I was only a writer. So Marvin, Herman, and another friend of ours, Jesse, and I, the four of us, we got together, wrote a beautiful song. It's called One Breath. It was on Marvin's album. I think his second album, because now we're on the third, fourth. So, and that's where we met. That's where we met. And then since then we just always stayed in contact. We got along, so we just talked about absolutely everything. That's one thing that we've always done. Just regular calls and stay in touch. And we always made music together as well, even through like some more difficult times for each of us. We still stayed in touch, and we always, even when he was back here and I was in Germany and we hadn't seen each other for a while, we always stayed in touch. We always stayed musically connected. So we've been making music together for, I think, 6 years now. And I find that very seldom in the music industry, because I write with a lot of people, but not very many for so many years, especially not artists. Artists usually move on with their teams. They change from project to project, they evolve. And to be allowed to go with Marvin through these different projects while parts of the team have changed, we still stick together. That's been fun. Well, guitar started when I was 16, I think, 16, because my dad is a music teacher, and he was also my piano teacher at the time. So I wanted to quit playing the piano. And I asked him, because I then said, I want to play the drums, and he said, perfect, I can play the drums, I'll be your teacher. And I said, so I asked him one day, what was an instrument that he never played. He said, guitar. I said, okay, cool. I want a guitar. My auntie, my mother's sister, my aunt gave me a guitar, and it was a terrible guitar, and I wanted an electric, but this was some nylon string. Oh, so disappointing. But my mother said if I can learn 50 songs on the guitar, she'll buy me an electric guitar. So I learned 4 chords and just sang 50 different songs over 4 chords, because that's pop music. So that's how I got my first electric guitar. And ever since then, it was YouTube videos and watching Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan. That was when I was 16 to 20, that was all I liked, was blues music. It was so fun. Some funk stuff and everything. Yeah. Marvin and I, when we started working together, I was a writer and he was the artist, so we started writing songs, and that influenced the way that I write songs. The ideas that come to mind now, the culture that I've learned to love through him has completely changed the way that I write songs to this day. And then as a producer, I started off producing mainly Marvin stuff, because not many other artists were giving me a shot at it, and he just let me do my thing, develop my sound there. So I as a writer and producer, I can't put into words the influence that he's been, with the chances that he's given me, just to develop, to have ideas and be creative about it. So that was fun. The vibe in the studio was mainly just fun and exploration, just trying out things, because apart from Teacher Rasbumba, none of us were too experienced in what we were doing at the time, and we could all only bring our own flavor of music into it and do what we want to do, because I don't know enough reggae guitar players to try and think, oh, I want to sound like, I know, like Peter Tosh, that's it. That's a depressing resume, like, but it also kept us, each of us, open to different approaches, because we weren't coming and trying to recreate anything. We were just trying to make our own version of something, and that was the curiosity of it all. Because all of us had these different ideas for things, and we just went with it, and it was so fun. And there was lots of laughter. Yeah. The difference in sound, like from previous albums to this one, is previous albums were more concepted. There was more of an idea that of the way things should go, things should sound, things should be, and it was all always in the studio. So there wasn't live music happening. There wasn't this 3 or 4 or 5 people in the studio just jamming out and having a good time, inspiring each other, giving little ideas, quoting or whatever. And it's not that that diminished the quality of his music, it's just that it changed the quality of his music. So while this is more of an expression of his self, what he did before was at times a compromise between expression of his self and trying to fit a certain mold, or a certain need, a certain market niche that we thought would work. And then through us working over the years now, this is sort of what it's been building up to for me, because this is like this is the album that he made completely here. This is the album that he made like as himself, as the executive producer, without, he took into account other people's feedback and all that. It's not like that, but it was his vision, and he was developing it as he went, and it was so much fun for him to see how everything fell into place at times. So this is very much a Marvin Brooks record. Well, musically, for me, the handmade sound of it all, because it's handmade music. People were in a room and made the music together, and then they used a bunch of analog gear to produce it, to mix it all together, to bring it was a lot of hard labor and a lot of experience and a lot of ideas being tossed around, and that really burst into a lot of colors for the record. So the music, musically for me, it's incredibly beautifully crafted in simplicity. There are 2 chord jams. I mean, that's a different song, but he's been playing that the past couple of days. But he had like 2 chord songs, and he just tells the truth over it. So the beauty and the simplicity of it, I think it's a very honest record too, because we kept mistakes, because we all felt it in the moment. We all thought, that's the take. I fucked up on like the 3rd chorus, but whatever, that's what it really is for me. Into this record, I mean, he's put a lot more effort for himself, with more time dedicated to the record, and he's let things simmer a lot more than before. Before it was always, there was a certain we say hectic, not hectic, Zeitdruck in German. There was a time frame. We had deadlines. We had shit to do before. and then he was off to there, and then. It's very, very busy before. So it wasn't like he could sit down like he does here. Sit down in the Red Kitchen, listen to 2 songs for 7 hours, and just think about everything. Because with times of that, the story that he probably told himself about the backing vocals, things that he couldn't sleep one night. He came out here and he blasted the music. That's something different. And being sleepless over this record is something that I never noticed him doing before. So stuff like that.